All right, VR. Now, there's some VR stuff out at CES. We're finally seeing some of these Windows 10 Creator Edition VR headsets. Hopefully, I'll get to see some when I head down there. Lenovo is showing one. Uh, we of course talked about some VR accessories like those VR boots. But I think the thing to really talk about is over the break. I think a bunch of us had more time to use VR. This is the first full holiday break, Thanksgiving included, that we had the Oculus Rift with touch controllers and as well the HTC Vive. Did you guys give demos to family?
I didn't because people didn't come over to my house really over the holidays.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I have one question. So now you had more time, and
Yeah.
you always talked about how, on a Wednesday night when you're going home, you're probably going to put on the Oculus on the Rift. So what did you sort of gravitate towards out of the three systems?
Still the Rift. Because it is just easier for me just to grab it. It's literally, there's a little stand right by my desk, put it on, grab the touch controllers off my desk.
Well, there's nothing more. I love Valve. I love Valve. And I loved the Vive because it's what I had all year long to use it. And motion controllers make all the difference.
Yep.
But now there's very little incentive to use the Vive. Because the headset of the Oculus is considerably lighter, more comfortable, has built-in headphones.
And the very little may be a very big, very little for some people for the types of experiences in games they're playing.
And I prefer the touch controllers. They're just more comfortable and they have more versatility with the gestures. But you and I played ping pong yesterday.
Yeah.
What was the name of the game?
11 table tennis.
And for the first time since having the touch, I found myself wanting the Vive controllers.
Because of the ergonomics of the controller, not because of the tracking, but because, like we talked about in the reviews, with the Vive controller, you can grip it and hold it any way you want,
and continually readjust. So if I'm playing ping pong, my forehand, I hold the paddle differently than I hold it with backhand. With the Oculus Touch, there's no switching up your grip.
Do you play in the same room with both systems?
No, different rooms.
So I'm wondering if we see more room scale games, which we haven't seen many yet.
We are seeing, and so I
There's
did want
more.
to call out some games, both in the Oculus store and also in the Steam store, that I got to play a lot of over the break. We talked about 11 table tennis, may be my new favorite thing to do in VR. And Jeremy, I know you're a little more critical of table tennis because you played semi-professionally table tennis.
I played in a state tournament when I was in high school. Yeah. I had my own paddle. Yeah.
like your own line of paddles, the Williams paddle.
If you're listening to the podcast and didn't see the look Jeremy gave me when he said, I have my own paddle.
I prefer 3-star balls to 1-star balls.
Sure.
What is the difference?
Grip.
2 stars.
Yeah.
I didn't know there was a difference. I thought it was...
Hey, the ping pong players out there know what I'm talking about.
Well, for me, it was like Dragon Balls. Like you collect the 1-star and the 2-star and the 3-star, and then when you get all 5, you make a wish.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
So yeah, I played 11 table tennis with Jeremy. I played it with the Oculus controllers. A couple things I want to give a shout out to you about this game. It's not complete yet because they're doing more environments. The matchmaking was really, really nice. One, I like that with the Vive and the Oculus controller, there's calibration for how you grip your virtual controller. So in the settings menu, you can see floating the paddle, and then superimposed in it also is the representation of whatever controller you have in your hand, the Vive controller or the Oculus Touch, and you can reposition and readjust, even to go so far as to detach your hand from the paddle to grip it. And I found that to be hugely important for ergonomics.
Yeah.
I wish some games, like some shooting games, don't do that. Some do let you adjust the way you grip the pistol grip. But for ping pong, it's super important. So I got a really comfortable grip for my paddle. The haptic feedback is subtle, but it's still noticeable and it makes a difference. The thing that I really love though is the AI. There is an AI in 11 table tennis it's just a floating head. It's like a Donnie Darko.
Well, and hands.
Floating head and hands, not a full IK body. But the AI that doesn't talk to you. It's just like a floating. It plays table tennis, but plays it well. but also because they were showing the head and hands, you get some sense of gestures and some sense of character in the AI that I think they motion captured by having one of their developers wear the headset and hold the controllers. And there's this blend between the playing of the table tennis and also the AI just when you're not playing tennis and just going through the menu, just hanging out and making gestures and being casual, really makes it feel like there's a presence there.
It's well done. And they have to predict where the ball is going to go in order to return it. And it's done very seamlessly. As soon as you return the ball, the AI will very seamlessly move in a position, prepare for a strike, and then actually hit the ball back to you. It's pretty nice. Well done.
This is exactly what was missing from Hollow Ball. Like, because you're playing that sort of HAL 9000 type computer.
And here, even though if you're playing with a real player, you still see the same kind of avatar, floating head, floating hands, but you may get voice chat. If you're playing against a real player and there is no voice chat, the AI, I think, is just as convincing. And because the physics model, they control the physics model, and the animations are slower than the physics model, of course, they know by the moment you hit the ball, where the ball is going to end up, and they can calculate how to script the AI to get to the ball, or whether it's going to hit the end of the table. So they can score the ball at the moment you hit it. Yeah, it's fun. It's really good. What do you think about the physics of 11 table tennis and how what was missing?
It's so tricky. I don't know. I didn't feel different paddles have different feels. So I'm surprised they don't have the option to actually change your paddle from a rubber surface to a sandpaper or a small rubber, or different types of grips. Maybe that's coming. But it didn't feel like I expected it to. It wasn't quite as bouncy as I expected. And I just found it particularly hard to stretch the full area that I needed to reach. If you were to hit the ball off the side rather than off the end of the table, very unlikely I'd be able to get to it without actually hitting my desk or something around me.
So you need more space.
I really personally need a much larger space to play that game well.
And I found myself constraining my movements because I know if I'm playing ping pong, table tennis, I am going to be jumping out and trying to reach my arm, which is weird because in the game, you see you can also position the table relative to you vertically and laterally in any angle.
Yeah.
I didn't lunge my body into the virtual table because you had that, the mental barrier.
Sure.
But I also didn't lunge as far as I could around the sides of the table because I also had the other mental barrier of knowing what my physical space was and didn't want to bang into my monitors.
The spin physics are good. They did a good job.
Yeah. The other game, which is the Oculus launch game that I want to give a shout out to, and I don't think we talked enough about this, is I Expect You to Die. And that's the from Shell Games, the kind of everyone's been billing it as the escape room for VR, and we played a bunch of the demos ahead of time. The first level, you start in the car. You're supposed to break the windows, defuse the bomb.
Yeah, there was a DK2 demo that they released last year.
I think I really enjoyed it. I think it left me wanting a little more. In terms of, and I know it's not easy to design those puzzles. I think the game has really nice aha moments. The thing, my one criticism for the game is that I think they could have done like Portal did in terms of having some aha moments where successes in earlier levels you had to call back to succeed in the later levels.
Oh, interesting! Like an evolution of levels.
Yeah, an evolution of puzzles.
Yeah,
that. Because it's a narrative game, so you progress it through it one level at a time, in their order. But the thing I love about the game, I definitely want to give a shout out to, is even if you're not going to get through all the levels, literally sit in a chair because you play it sitting. Sit through the opening credits sequence.
Oh,
it's like living through a Bond intro in VR.
Oh, really?
With a song and all, and it was one of the most delightful things I did over the holiday break because I had previously skipped past it. A game that came out also late in the year that I didn't get a chance to play until the holiday was Werewolf Within. And Upload VR named it their favorite multiplayer game of the year.
No kidding.
VR multiplayer game. And this is Werewolf, the card game like Mafia, which I've played many times at board game parties.
I've just done one night, but Werewolf is a longer game.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. and Ubisoft has this release, and it's full on werewolf, high production values. You have character roles. You can't choose your avatar because everyone's going to be different. But you use conversation, and then you can accuse people.
This is a game of deceit, of trying to. If you're the werewolf, you're not supposed to let anybody else know.
Yep.
If you're a villager, you're supposed to hunt out the werewolves.
And because the primary mode of communication is voice, and the headsets, two of them have built-in voice, and this is cross-platform also. They do a voice calibration at the beginning too to make sure your audio levels are right.
Oh,
which is interesting.
Huh.
The one issue I have with it: no motion controller support.
It's unnecessary, right?
You can play with the gamepad and you can press combinations of buttons for like gesturing. I accuse you, or I have a question.
Okay.
But it's a game that seems made for gestures, made for Oculus Touch.
Yeah.
And because it's cross-platform, it's just not built in.
Because it really is a social experience.
It's a social. And what we found is the social experiences, the gestures add so much.
What's the environment?
Sitting around a campfire. Yeah.
So a circle of people.
Yeah.
So did you play with strangers?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It was good?
It was fine. I got really frustrated with the controls. I don't think I've played it long enough to get all the gestures right, but I didn't want to pick up the gamepad. And there's parity. I was holding the Oculus Touch controllers, and there's parity with like pressing the buttons.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point and gesture.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, not being able to do that sucked.
What's that like? I mean, are people comfortable in VR with strangers to play werewolf? That seems like something you do with friends. What is that like?
No. I think they're. I think at a point where if you're playing it and people know the rules, then playing with strangers is okay. If you're playing with strangers and someone needs to be taught the rules, then it's a little tougher, because at that point you really want someone to be a friend so you can guide them through. Because giving someone instructions is tough if you don't know them.
Sure.
Climby.
Yeah, you showed this to me, and this was making a lot of buzz on Reddit last year when it came out. A lot of people like this game. It's very, like, the graphics are nothing. It looks like a bunch of primitives in Unity.
Yep.
But the mechanic is really quite cool. You compared it to Lone Echo, I think rightly, but it's like Lone Echo with gravity.
Yeah, I mean, and the part of Lone Echo that I compared to is the climbing aspect, the lateral movement.
Just the movement.
The movement where, as a game, it's really like as if you're going into a low poly virtual, like not jungle gym, but a indoor climbing facility.
Right.
Where it's a multiplayer experience. So you and I jumped into this room. You can download levels. I think it comes with 15 built-in levels. But you can just spend time with like 4 other people in this large climbing simulator, and you're just going for time, and you can place your checkpoints, and you're just moving around.
I'm taking a look right now. I'm just surprised with the low poly nature that it's still that enjoyable.
Oh, well, hasn't it always been the case with VR? Like, it doesn't. Yeah. You feel like you're there even if it's a bunch of primitives.
I'm surprised because there's basically no fill in around the environment.
Yeah.
Like you're basically on these blocks just hopping around, jumping
but once
around.
you're it's like the lo-fi version of the climb, but a social version. And whereas the climb really makes you feel like it's a game with half pressing your trigger buttons and your grip buttons and having to re-chalk up and seeing this gorgeous luscious landscape. Here it's just the fun of fast climbing.
Yeah, it's much more about
it's like a VR jungle gym,
speed running.
And the thing that you had issue with, Jeremy, I think, was there was a vaulting system and a walking system when you're not climbing.
Yeah, the climbing was great. I hated the movement system.
Yeah.
I just couldn't get my head around how it was supposed to work. I was in a mode where if I move my hands like I'm jogging, I would go forward, but it just wasn't comfortable for me, and I hated walking.
Now, it's also a game that really benefits of having 360, not necessarily a room scale, but 360, because as we found with Lone Echo, climbing, the act of climbing is really comfortable if you're not doing rotations.
Yeah.
Like if the game doesn't let you rotate, you have to physically rotate. But because you have to physically rotate, you need to do a 360.
I was most excited about Smashbox. Did you play that?
I want to play that with you.
Yeah,
we played Smashbox Arena last night.
And how was it?
It was fun.
Yeah, it was
Jeremy enjoyed it a lot. It's like dodgeball.
It's like the levels design is pretty good, and when you start, all these dodgeballs, like from elementary school, fall out of the sky, and then you hear them all bounce, boom, 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 and then you pick them up with a gun, and you shoot them at your opponents, and you can get special weapons and things like that. It's not terribly unlike paintball
The paintball and Rec Room.
in Rec Room, which is also very fun.
That was fun.
Yeah, but here it's teleportation. So you have the launching the teleport. They have like power ups. I like that you can either hold, you can shoot teleport or hold a dodgeball. So you have to trade off. Do you want to hold 2 dodgeballs where you can have one to fire and one to deflect, or do you want to teleport and jump around the map? I think we play, and then there's AI also. So we played it with, it was like 4v4, and we had like 4 real people. So it was fun. I also like their matchmaking mechanic, which is very, it's not menu based. It's like you actually jump into lobbies, like physical lobbies. You jump into a party shuttle. You teleport onto a tram, and it says everyone jump in this tram. Shuttle's gonna leave in 10 seconds, and then you all ship off to
Oh, that's cool.
a multiplayer session.
The tram doesn't move.
No, I get
Just
it. But
It moves in your mind. And then the last thing I played a lot of, I'm playing maybe the most of, is Onward.
Yeah, we're kind of late to this party.
Yeah,
This was making a lot of buzz last year. It's a
this is a shooter.
it's a shooter. It's
Counter-Strike style.
only structurally in terms of it's round base 4v4. The objective with a attacking team and defending team with environments that are like range from war zones, small maps, war zones to small suburban neighborhood to a subway. Developed all by one guy.
Yeah, that's impressive.
And he announced over the holiday break that he was invited to have a residency at Valve to work on Onward at Valve, which Valve has offered to developers like budget cuts. But the thing that I like most about it is that it has that simulator aspect, the war simulator, the ARMA, the Flashpoint, Operation Flashpoint sim feel that I love. And it gave me a glimpse into what a war simulator would be like a 16 or 64 person war simulator would be like in VR, because you have very realistic weapon modeling and physics. You hold the gun, you pick it from your chest, you have to reload manually your clips, your magazines. You have to actually, after you reload the magazine, you have to pull the lever back. You have to look down the gun sights. People it's actually a game where it may be better it's probably better on the Vive, because you again need 360, but people also have been mounting their Vive controllers on PVC piping or 3D printing grips, so you have the 2-handle grips with the gun stock pushed against your shoulder that you would have on a rifle.
This game seems intense.
It's very intense. I mean, to be clear, when you do all the things he just described, you physically do them in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You actually move your controller up to cock, and you have to grab the magazine and pull it out. So there's if you run out of ammo and you're under fire, there's real pressure to reload, and you have to do all that stuff that you actually would. So it's definitely intense.
And there's no laser sight. There's no laser beam for aiming. You're looking down the barrel through a red dot sight or through iron sights. Some of the most intense moments I've had in this game so far is just being holed up on a rooftop or in a room and listening for footsteps and aiming down and breathing slowly and shooting. And it reminds me one of like playing Arma when we would do 16-player co-op missions and wait for an ambush, an envoy, and shoot through trees against AI. Or it also reminds me of like playing Counter-Strike way back in like 2001, 2000, and like the betas, the Counter-Strike beta 1.3s, where the game wasn't fully polished yet, and every new update that came with the game, the developer would release back then also like a single-person developer would be a big deal. And it already has a pretty good community.
It's also worth mentioning that the developer just said screw it and just did regular movement throughout the world. So use a thumbstick to strafe through the world. It's just
left, right for snapping, turning.
We're not going to deal with teleportation or
which is
snapping.
Great.
It's just movement.
And what I found that movement, by itself, if the game was just made of that movement, it wouldn't be fun. But because that movement is just services you getting into these tactical situations where you're thinking about the environments, thinking about your locally on your person, the attachments you have, the focus of the game, like the gameplay of the game become blinders almost to the movement that isn't perfect.
And when you die, you're out for the rest of the round.
Oh, it's like Counter-Strike, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
You can. I know that's you mentioned that because I know it's a style of gameplay that you don't like.
I'm all Leroy Jenkins about it. So I'm just run. I'm not good at patience. I don't sit around a corner. I did for a good minute, and like nothing happened, and it's very intense while that's happening.
And that intensity, I think, that's what's compelling for me about it.
I mean, we've talked to researchers that use similar probably programs like this to train actual military individuals. So I feel like we're probably getting a taste of that in this game.
I think for strategy, yes, it's still not at the point where they're learning how to use actual weapons.
Oh no, but
yeah.
But that idea of being in that place and feeling the environment and feeling the stress of the situation.
Totally.
And having it tied to your body. Like I didn't shoot video of myself doing it, but I'm at times just crouched on the floor, huddled, my arms holding touch controllers close to my chest, breathing quietly.
He was whimpering. He was, please,
and just like waiting. Like I think people lie on the ground, and play this game when they're sniping, and it's one that it makes you want the warehouse with larger than room scale tracking.
I'm excited for the pics of people playing VR looking ridiculous subreddit.
Yep.
That must exist. Danica must have shots of you just like looking really bizarre.
Yeah.
Are you going to make a PVC gun?
I really want to.
Yeah.
I really want to. Yeah.
Speaking of accessories like that, CES is going to be dominated probably by VR accessories.
Yes.
More so than actual, hardware. So is there anything you're excited to go see?
I want to see motion controllers, different takes on motion controllers, ergonomics, how people are designing motion controllers. Now that there are people who can license Lighthouse technology and buy the sensors, and like, are there going to be, as opposed to needing to build a PVC mount for your Vive wands, you can buy something that has a gun stock that has the sensors on it. Like that's what I want to see. And so I'll be keeping an eye on that stuff and walking around the VR pavilion. And then finally, Forbes just announced their 30 for 30 list. These are their picks of like the 600 most interesting and successful people under the age of 30 across 20 different industries.
Just missed it by 10 years.
Yeah. And I think they had judges, a panel of judges for each category. So they had a category for media and a category for games. For games, I think the judges was like the studio lead for 343 Industries, and I forget, like two. I think Jade Raymond was one of them. But a bunch of VR people popped up in there. For example, Alex Schwartz from Alchemy Labs was listed there.
Good for him. He's a good guy too.
Max Temkin was also made it. And in the media side, Upload VR, the founders of Upload VR, also made it. So huge congratulations to them. It's all really well deserved, and I'm glad that this part of the industry is getting some recognition.
Mm-hmm.